First, Model Air Light Brown is airbrushed onto the shoulder pads. Model Air White is then airbrushed onto the upper areas of the shoulder pads. To mask off the shoulder pads, I use Silly Putty. It adheres enough to do the job and does not leave residue or harm paint that it touches. It is simply placed on the model, then sculpted accurately to only mask the parts that it's intended to. Model Air Black is then used to base coat the entire model. Model Air Burnt Umber is applied over the model on all sides and above. This will leave the black base coat on all surfaces facing down. Game Color Gory Red is added to the mix, making it a 1-to-1 ratio. This mix is then sprayed at a 45-degree angle and also across the top of the model. Pure Gory Red is then used to highlight select areas for interest purposes, then concentrated on the top of the model where the light would be hitting the most. Applying a decal seems to be a problem for many people. They are great when used properly. The decal used here was printed on Tester's decal paper, and the design was taken from the Blolter and Chainsword forums, which I have included a link for in the video description. After cutting a single decal carefully from the sheet, it is placed in water for about 90 seconds. It may take longer, but what you're looking for is if you can slide it off the paper backing. That's when you know it's ready to be applied. Using decal solutions are the magic you need to get decals to behave and contour to surfaces. Microset is the adhesive on a decal in liquid form. Applied to the surface before applying the decal ensures minimal bubbles. It also softens the decal a bit, so applying a thin layer of it over the decal after it's been applied helps. If you still see wrinkles, Microsol will soften the decal even more, and when dry it makes the decal look as if it's painted on the surface. After the decal is completely dry, Vallejo Model Color Gloss Varnish is applied to the model. This will protect the work we have done so far and provide a surface with less tension for the next step. A mixture of Vallejo Game Color black and brown ink are mixed. 6 drops of each and enough alcohol to give it a wash consistency. I then apply the wash directly to the areas I want it. This is also known as pin washing, while going over the whole surface is mopping. You don't have to be perfect in this step, but doing so will save you cleanup time. Cleanup is done with a cotton bud and alcohol. Not too much alcohol though, or you will take the wash right off. You want to take any mistakes off in this step and try to refine your lines, but don't get too carried away. The gloss varnish will only allow a couple passes over an area before you break through and start to damage underlying paint. Once satisfied with the wash, I seal it in and get the model back to a matte finish by airbrushing Vallejo Model Color Matte Varnish over the entire model. Game Color Extra Opaque Heavy Sienna is used to base coat the gravel. Game Color Extra Opaque Heavy Brown is then dry brushed over the gravel. Game Color Bone White is dry brushed over the gravel as the final highlight. Game Color Wash Sepia Shade is applied to the gravel to give it more contrast. Model Air Black is then used to paint all the areas that will be black or silver. Game color cold gray is then used to hardline highlight the black areas. Try to use the side of your brush rather than the tip whenever possible. Model Air Metallic Black is applied to all the areas meant to be silver. Model Air Metallic Steel is then used to paint all but the deepest recesses. Model Air Metallic Aluminum is used as a highlight and only used on areas that would catch the most light. Game Color Extra Opaque Heavy Brown is applied to the skull and wings on the gun, as well as the Purity Seal paper. Game Color Bone White is then used to highlight the skull and wings, as well as the Purity Seal paper. Using a Sakura Micron Pen, the tactical arrow is drawn out. Model Air Black is then used to fill in the arrow. Game Color Extra Opaque Heavy Charcoal is then used to highlight some of the edges to create the illusion of the arrow being raised from the surface. Again, the Sakura Micron Pen is used, but this time it's used to mimic writing on the Purity Seal paper and the shoulder pad inlays. Green is a complementary color of red, so it's the color chosen for the lenses and the purity seal wax. The first color is Game Color Goblin Green, applied to the front 3/4 of the lenses. Game Color Escarpina Green is then used on the front half of the lenses and as the final highlight for the seal wax. Game Color Livery Green is then applied to the front quarter of the lenses. A dot of Model Air White in the back quarter of the lenses completes the effect. Game Color Black Green ink is then used on the purity seal wax to give it more contrast. To finish off the base, Gale Force 9 Spring Undergrowth Flock is applied using super glue. A big thank you to Batch of RogueMarket.com. His donation of the Mini made this tutorial possible. Don't forget to check out my other channel for non-tutorial stuff, APJ Less.